Hey guys, welcome back to yet another video. So today we're going to be working on my 2013 F350, and what we're going to be doing is taking those orange cab lights there and we're going to be replacing them with these black LED ones from Recon. So you guys might think this is a pretty worthless video and that it's going to be pretty straightforward. I'm here to tell you it's not as simple as you think, because for whatever reason, not sure why Ford started doing this, they started making the housings where they bolt in from inside the cab. So you have to drop the headliner down just to get these old ones off. I have done other installs of cab lights, like on my 0173. That truck did not have cab lights from the factory, so I had to go through the whole process of drilling holes and then pulling the headliner down and all that good stuff, running wires. So this isn't going to be quite as involved. I wish I had done videos on that truck when I did it at the time, but I wasn't really doing a ton of videos on YouTube then. So anyway, we'll get you guys a rundown of how to do this with hopefully not too many problems. I know my truck is completely filthy right now. It's still kind of breakup season here in Alaska, so completely pointless washing it. But we'll kind of show you guys what we're dealing with here. You really only have the one Phillips screw on the outside of this housing. So we'll pop that off and then I'll show you guys what we're looking at inside. So took that lens cover off real quick. You guys can see there's the bulb right there. And then you've got this little foam gasket that kind of keeps it watertight. And there is no screws at all. On the older trucks, I'm going to kind of guess that, I don't know if the 6.4s did it or not, but I know the 7.3s and the 6.0s did. But you had like 3 screws on the top of this that just screwed straight down into the cab, and that's what held it on. This does not. I'm kind of guessing the screws come up into these 2 posts here from the underside inside the cab. So that's what we're dealing with. Just wanted to take that off so you guys could see. I'm not going to get too carried away with taking the rest of these off yet, because most of the work is going to be inside the cab, pulling out the visors, have to take off that overhead light with the sunglasses holder, pull all that stuff down, that way we can kind of drop the headliner down a little bit. So taking the visor off isn't going to be too difficult. You got 2 T20 Torx bolts that hold the visor onto the ceiling. So we'll pull those out on the other one. And then it looks like there's a third T20 that holds on the little keeper. So we'll go ahead and pull out all 6 of those. Then in theory, the visor will drop off and then we'll move on to that overhead console. So I just dropped the visor down and I forgot that my visors are lighted. So there is a cord coming down from there. I don't really see if that's a plug or what. I'm just gonna kind of leave this hanging for now. And maybe it ties it back in there or something, but I'm gonna leave that alone for now. I'll remove it later if I can't drop the headliner down enough. So now that both visors are down, we got to take out this overhead console here. From what I understand, you can just kind of work your fingers up in there. Oh, definitely don't pull right there because you can break those lights out. But yeah. Just work your fingers in there. It's just some pressure clips that hold it up in there. I'm gonna have to use 2 hands, but as you can see, I got the one side loose. You're gonna need both hands and pull that down. Okay guys, so both hands did the trick, was able to get it down. You can see there are 2 plugs here in the back, and we're gonna have to go ahead and unclip both of those and get this whole console swung out of the way. So the headliner will drop a little bit, but it's not nearly enough to be able to get to especially these outer lights. So I'm gonna need to go ahead and get these edges here. And to do that, I think I'm gonna have to take off these grab handles. These plastic covers just come off with your fingers. You can pull them right off there. And then there is a bolt down inside there, which is a 7mm. So you'll have one up at the top, one at the bottom, and that should be able to make this come off. So that did get the grab handle out, guys. Just those 2 7mm bolts. You can kind of see they're held captive in there with just those kind of retaining nuts. So that's nice. So we got that off. That's out of the way. That'll allow the headliner to drop down a lot more. Probably pull back this door seal here. Yeah, we'll be able to get to that real good. You can kind of see back in there now, sort of, maybe. But I think that'll do the trick. We'll do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll be able to show you guys how to get these out. Something else we are going to have to take out is this plastic bucket type thing where our overhead console was sitting in. There's just a couple Phillips head screws, it looks like, holding that in there, but that's going to have to come out because this plug is kind of bound up in there, and we need to get that out of the way so this can drop in. And I believe there's probably going to be a light sitting behind there anyway, so it's going to have to come out either way. So I removed that overhead console mount, and now you guys can get a clear view of what we're dealing with. So these are where the factory lights are. Looks like you got 10mm nuts, and then there's studs that come through the roof. So we're going to pull those out, and we'll just unplug them. Just little push connect electrical connectors. Come out super easy, and we'll have all those for all of our lights. All right, guys, so here's another problem we're going to have to deal with. Here's our factory light here. As you can see, it's got the plug end, factory wiring with the plug. Here is the Recon light, which has a plug, but it is not at all the same as the factory one. So I'm not sure this is all how the aftermarket ones come. I think this kit was designed to be going on a truck that did not already have lights, and it came with a harness, and this is the type of connector you would use. They also made this light to work for any of the 99 and up trucks. So like I was saying, the older trucks definitely had some different wiring harnesses. So we're just gonna have to make this work. What it's gonna be is just cutting off these connectors and splicing them together. You got the yellow with the green stripe for a positive, and the black with a white stripe for a negative, and then red and black here, pretty obvious what those are. So we'll go ahead and splice those together, and then I'll double check things and make sure that it's actually working. So the more I get to thinking about it, I really don't want to cut into the wiring harnesses and chop everything up. So I was thinking about it, and this factory one has the bulb here, which is the exact same plug end as what this Recon light comes with. So it'll plug into that, and then the factory harness obviously plugs into that. So all I need to do is kind of just chop off around where this factory one was, make myself kind of a little plug out of it, and I can just pack it all back into the hole there, and I'll be good to go. So that is definitely what I'm going to do, and avoid having to hack up all the wiring. So this is basically my idea in progress here. So just took a hacksaw, cut off all the edges, and obviously I'll clean up those sharp jagged edges, make it look a little nicer. Not that it matters how it looks, but this will give us a nice plug to go from factory wiring to the aftermarket light. So to get these studs out, you just kind of put the end in a vise here and kind of crack the end so it breaks loose. These were already cracked because apparently they got over tightened from the factory, but then you can just kind of grab them with some pliers and twist it off of there. Once you get that off of there, as you can see, it's like a big coarse screw thread, and that'll thread right into your new lights. It'll fit, once you get it all the way on there, it kind of tapers off at the end. So it doesn't fit super tight, but it acts kind of as a stud, so you're pulling against it and it actually cinches down and gets them pretty tight. I've done it with 2 already and it worked perfectly. All right, guys, we've got all the lights on and tightened down. As you can see, they all light up, work perfectly fine. So that's definitely what I would recommend anyway, is just taking the time and tearing apart those factory lights and using them as kind of a plug for yourself. It'll work out pretty good from what I'm seeing. As well as using the studs that came out of the factory lights. Aside from that, we're just going to put everything back together and call this one a wrap. Hopefully this helped you guys. As always, feel free to drop a comment if you got any questions. And aside from that, we'll catch you guys in the next one.